In this lesson, we're going to be doing some live speaking and expressions sharing all around our topic of expressing doubts, and a very common type of language that you're going to have to use within your English speaking. So let's take a look at these 5 super phrases that we're going to be looking at today. So we'll start with this super colloquial phrase, "give me a sec." And it's kind of an idiomatic expression, "give me a second." But a native speaker in an informal situation would say, "give me a sec," which means hold on. On reflection, with hindsight. So this is slightly more formal in use and just means to look back. A really lovely colloquial expression meaning wait, hold your horses. Again, a really native contraction. What do you think? What do you think? And the last expression, let me take a rain check. Okay, so let's begin our live speaking video and we'll take a look at these in a bit more detail. So the first expression we're going to be looking at is "give me a sec." Give me a sec. And it's a really native sounding contraction from "give me a second" to "give me a sec." And it's kind of an idiomatic expression because we're not actually, or we can't also ask for a second. A second is abstract. It's not something we can touch. But it basically means to ask somebody just to wait for a moment. Now, it could be asking somebody to wait for a moment whilst we make a decision if we're expressing doubts. So we could say, "Oh, just give me a sec, I need to think about that. Give me a sec, I need to think about it." So when someone's asking you if you want to do something and you just want in a moment to consider it, if you're having doubts, you can say, "Oh, just give me a sec, let me think about it for a moment." And then, of course, if the other person's polite, they will wait just for a little bit longer until you can make your decision. Give me a sec. So from very informal to a bit more formal now, on reflection, with hindsight. So this really is probably more of a formal opening phrase for your language. And it just means thinking back. So it's all about reflecting. On reflection, I'm not sure I would have made that decision. With hindsight, I might have changed my actions. Thinking back, you would do something differently, expressing doubts about past events. On reflection, I probably wouldn't have bought this car. It's been quite useless. With hindsight, I wouldn't have moved house. My old flat was better. So here we have an opening phrase we can use when expressing doubts about past actions. And it's a little bit more formal. I would suggest probably not using that kind of language if it is a really informal situation with friends, but definitely if you're trying to sound a little bit more intelligent, a little bit more polite, on reflection, with hindsight. Really great opening phrases. We now have a super British, but I think a global phrase as well for English, native English speakers, of course. And that is hold your horses. Hold ya. Hold ya. It's almost a j sound. Hold your horses. Hold your horses. And it basically is asking somebody not to hold any horses. I'm sure there's none around, but just asking somebody to wait. For whatever reason it may be. Hold your horses. Hold ya. Hold your horses. It's definitely a very British expression. If somebody is wanting to act on something quickly, you're kind of having doubts if you want to do it right away or you just want a bit longer. Hold your horses. Let me just organise myself. How about we go out right away? Hold your horses. I'm not ready. So a really good expression just to say, could you please wait a moment? It could be whether you're having doubts or you could just want a bit more time. Let's send that email right now. Hold your horses, let's check it, let's proofread it. So a really good expression, idiomatic expression for asking for someone to wait for a bit more time. Now we have a questioning phrase, and I really want specifically to look at the contraction. So the whole question would be, what do you think? 4 words. But as a native speaker, especially in informal situations, you would say, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? So it's kind of a really big contraction. It almost sounds like one word. What do you think? So if you're asking someone for their opinion, could be that you're having doubts about something. It could just be that you'd like someone else to give some ideas or more input on maybe a group discussion. You can say, what do you think? Could you tell me something? Could you tell me some of your opinions? What do you think? Oh, I'm not sure about this. What do you think? What do you think? And so it's a really nice way to ask for somebody to share some ideas. What do you think? Okay, this next expression is more of an idiomatic expression. It's a bit more figurative, and generally speaking, it's more of an American piece of language. So it's not used so much in the UK, although British people would understand it, as I'm sure other areas with native English speakers probably would too. And that's, let me take a rain check. Let me take a rain check. Let me. Contraction there. Let me take a rain check. And it's just a really kind of polite way. I wouldn't say super formal. It's kind of a very polite, informal way to say or refuse an offer. If you're having doubts about something, you don't want to do something, you say, let me take a rain check. I'm not really interested. So it's a really sort of friendly way, in an informal sense, to turn down an offer. Let me take a rain check. Excuse me, do you want to buy a ticket on this bus? I'm not sure. Let me take a rain check. I'll come back to you later. So it's kind of like a friendly way to say no. Let me take a rain check. A bit more American in use, but definitely something to be aware of. So if you see or hear this language, you'll know its true meaning. Okay, so just a few expressions for you there, extra bits of language, kind of around the topic of expressing doubts, but super useful in many different situations as well. So I will see you in the next lesson.